मॉर्निंग विद फरजाना अली एट 101 Academy Women Series. आज हमारे साथ हैं मिस्टर इमरान मसूद, who is former Education Minister and Vice Chancellor of University of South Asia. Welcome, Mr. Imran.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Sir, actually, we are quite excited today to have you with us. We would like to know about your journey. How did you start off?
Thank you very much for inviting me to your channel, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm also very excited to have a conversation with you. My journey has been a very long journey, and it's a very long story, but to sort of cut it short, my initial education was in Lahore, Neeson College, and I'm from Gujarat. My native town is Gujarat, but I've been studying here in Lahore. And my family is a political family, so my father, my grandfather, everybody was in this public service in politics. To serve the public is a tradition of our family. So my background is law. I'm a law graduate, and so because of my family tradition, so I had to enter into politics. So it was 1990 when I started my first election, and I was the youngest elected member in the Provincial Assembly. I was then made a parliamentary secretary for health and population welfare, which is sort of like a deputy minister for Punjab. So my journey has been very exciting, and I've been struggling a lot to make my mark in this field of politics, to do something good which can be remembered by your people, by your native town, your friends and your family. And so I started working in the legislation, and I was very focusing on the public-private partnership in human rights, women empowerment, and my forte and my focus was on education. And I've been struggling very hard for the promotion of education. So I got elected about 5 times as a member of the Provincial Assembly. And then when I became the Education Minister of Punjab, that gave me a lot of access to whatever desires that I had to do in the education sector. Immediately I announced free education for every child of Punjab. We had 63,000 schools in the government sector. The other initiative, which was a very sort of a bold initiative, was giving free books to all the children of Punjab. We're talking about 12.8 million students in those times when I was a minister. And we worked on the women empowerment through education by giving free education to female students, and we helped them and gave them stipends. 200 rupees was given to every child for doing her 80% of attendance in 1 month. So a girl of rural area, especially from the southern Punjab, she had to pay no tuition fee, and she had to get free books. She would get a stipend, she would get a free uniform and a school bag, and so everything was free. So with these initiatives, I was able to raise the literacy rate of Punjab from 42% to 62% in 5 years of time. So the journey was long. The journey has not finished as yet, and still struggling. And so these days I am representing the schools, the private sector schools. I'm the president of Pakistan Education Council. I work for the promotion of education in the private sector, in the school sector. I also represent universities. I am the chief spokesperson of all the private sector universities of Pakistan, 4 provinces, AJK and capital, Islamabad. And I work on art, culture and heritage. I'm the chairman of Gandhara Association of Art and Culture Pakistan. I work for languages, I work for saving the heritage, and so Gandhara is my focus. So I do lots of work. And so this was a small, introduction of my journey, which I've been going through.
So it's a beautiful introduction of yours. The youngest politician who started his journey from Gujarat, and who is still struggling with lots many things, who is doing for the society. And during your tenure, you did a lot for education as well, as you have worked on literacy rate, which has been improved. And nowadays, you're a chief spokesman for private sector too. During the COVID-19 especially, there's a debate on that private sector is the most ignored sector during this government tenure, I would say. What is your take on that?
I totally agree with you, and we've been having a dialogue with the government, especially the education minister. I strongly believe that one of the biggest victims of this COVID lockdown was the schools. Schools were the areas and colleges and universities where the SOP was very, highly observed. And it was a big challenge for the schools and colleges and universities to switch to the online education. And but as a general, statement that I would like to give on your forum is that the government has no focus on education, especially this current government. Although this current government had a slogan that they will work for the youth, for the betterment of the youth. Maybe this government and the education department is into a lot of changes that they want to bring in. They're talking about the single national curricula. They're talking about, getting new books. They're also talking about making new laws, new authorities just to control the private sector. But my job is then what I want to highlight is what is the role of the private sector, when it comes to the private schools in Punjab and Pakistan. So the benefit and the importance has to be highlighted in the minds of the policymakers. And so I'm trying to be a bridge between the government and the private sector schools. Private sector has done a wonderful job, and I strongly believe that they've brought in high quality and the access has gone better. And people and parents are very confident in sending their children to schools like American Lycetta. And so I think it's a great contribution from the private sector school side towards the uplift of the society and the nation. So this sector cannot be ignored. They should be taken as partners to the government. If Pakistan has 51% of literacy rate, so half of the credit should go to the private sector when it comes to schools, colleges and universities. And I'm a very strong advocate of the private sector. So the government should make new laws, they should bring in policies, they should make new legislation, but that should to facilitate and support the private sector. That should not be to harass them. But now in these current times, the schools are very disturbed sector, and they don't think that the government has any focus on this sector. So what I would like to say to the government of Punjab and Pakistan would be that they should honor the private sector school, and they should involve them in the consultative dialogue process, because they are the biggest stakeholders. Any policy which is made in isolation, any new law which is brought in isolation, any new legislation which takes place in the parliament or in the assemblies which has no direct relation in terms of no consultation has been done, that law, that legislation will backfire heavily. So to stop that, to avoid that embarrassment, I would like to suggest the government that they should consult the private sector.
Undoubtedly, as the government is introducing a new education policy for 2021 to 2024 for next 3 years, how do you see that new education policy?
Well, every government has a right to bring in their education policy. I have dealt with various education policies. After every 10 years, a new policy comes in. I have gone through the first draft, which has been given to us, and I think it's a good way. And then that now the government has asked about the public opinion. They are consulting the stakeholders now by, in terms of designing this new education policy. A policy should be a policy where you make a policy where you want to give a framework, the way forward. How would you see Pakistan after 20 years? What should be the target of in education? What should be the focus on the technical, vocational education, the female education? How would you deal with the enrollment, with the dropout? How would you deal with the quality, the curricula, the languages, the professional education? So a good policy has all these, elements and ingredients which can make a good policy. So they've given this draft, and they're now asking for the feedback of all the stakeholders. Yes, we will support this education policy. and we would like to give our input. We would like to tell the government what is the ground reality right at the grassroots level. How would an uneducated parent would feel? What is his sentiment? We need to give them awareness. We need to give more access to our children to come into the schools. We have a very heavy number of children who are out of school children. So these are all the SDGs where the entire world is working at, the Sustainable Development Goals, which is announced by the UN, and the world is working on this sector. One area is the online education. Pakistan had no online education experience. It is not allowed by the Higher Education Commission. They need to legalize this online education also, and then facilitate and strengthen the partners who are actually doing the online education. So we would like to support this education policy if it is a good policy.
All right. Similarly, I would like to ask, as the dynamics of education are entirely changed due to COVID-19, what challenges do you see that education is going to face, education sector especially, in the coming years?
Well, if you're talking about the online education, and the bigger major challenge would be the connectivity, because in Pakistan we've got far-flung places which do not have the access to the net, to the IT net. There's no Wi-Fi there, and obviously those people, they suffer. So that is going to be the big challenge in the coming future if we are talking about the online education. The other challenge is again that there's no awareness in the far-flung places. If you talk about the villages in Balochistan or the villages, far-flung places in Punjab, where people do not have access to schools. If they have an access to schools, they do not have any access to the colleges. So that's the major area of the dropout. And we have to incentivize, this sector by giving incentives to the students. And the major partner would be the school owner or the school system. So that school system has to be facilitated because there's a law which says 25A of the Constitution that the government has to give free and compulsory education to every child of Pakistan, male, female, both. But then there are no schools in the villages, the government schools I'm talking about. So where there is no government school, we have a private school there. So private school systems and the sector should be dealt and taken as a partner to the government, not as somebody who's opposing the government. So this is a matter of a mindset. The mindset has to be changed, and I think this is the biggest challenge that we are facing in the coming years. Pakistan has to go forward, go ahead. We're still lacking behind. In terms of the human index, the study throughout the world, Pakistan is way low in terms of the human index. Out of 154 countries, we are somewhere at the 152nd number, and Afghanistan is just, behind us. So this makes it a big challenge in terms of giving education to our children. So these are the challenges which we'll be facing in future.
All right. As you said that, during your tenure, you have worked for female education a lot, and I would say you're a great supporter of women empowerment too. Any message that would you like to give to the women or the youth?
Oh, we have the best women of the world, the Pakistani women. And we have about 51% of population is female based in Pakistan. And we have a very male-dominating society in Pakistan. So we need to bring up our women by giving them rights, by making new laws where the women's sector is protected. We worked for the women empowerment when we were in the government. Still we are working privately also. We gave representation to the women of Pakistan into the local bodies, into the provincial assemblies, into the National Assembly, into the Senate. And we have the reserved seats so that we must give focus to, the women sector. We made new laws, the women harassment law and women protection bill which was passed. I think the biggest way of the women empowerment would be to educate our women, you know. If we have an educated woman, we'll have an educated mother. So educated mothers have a great role to play. But hats off to the women of Pakistan. You know, these women, when they are daughters, when they are sisters, when they are wives, when they are mothers, so they play their important role. A woman of Pakistan is an anchor person of a family bonding system of Pakistan. A woman plays a great role as a mother, and a woman as a daughter has to fulfill the desires of his or her parents. So I think we should salute the women of Pakistan, and whatever we have, whatever values that we have, whatever the family system that we have, is all based and goes around the single woman who's a mother of that family. So salute to the women of Pakistan.
It's a beautiful conversation. I really don't want to end up, but due to short of time, obviously we have to just go towards the end. There's a question which is out of the box. All right. So what is happiness to Mr. Imran Masood?
What is happiness?
Yes.
My biggest happiness is to what I do every day is that I have volunteered myself for the promotion of education. I feel very happy when I visit a school. I feel very happy when I meet a teacher. It gives me a lot of happiness when I see those young children, especially in those rural areas, who are in that school, who are not dressed up so properly, but they are in the school. And hopefully by spending about 10 years in that school, they would reach to some point in time. So my biggest happiness is to bring in a change in the lives of common people and normal people, you know. I want to sort of enhance their living standard by giving them drinking water, clean drinking water, by giving them their basic right of education, and by giving a scholarship to a child who's very talented, doesn't have any money to get into the school. So if I help that child by giving him a scholarship, and then he comes to the school, that is the biggest happiness when he's graduated.
Actually, I have a number of out-of-the-box questions, but obviously I'm just...
We can have a second session now.
All right, that is for sure. Thank you very much. It
Pleasure.
was a great
Pleasure, ma'am.
conversation today, and we are really privileged to have you with us.